today, because we only had an hour and I wanted to save time for question and answers, because that's really my favorite part of any kind of presentation I do, I was primarily going to focus on blogger relations, which are the communities that you build with bloggers. But when we think about bloggers, what you have to realize is there's bloggers who actually have sites, but then there's also microbloggers. Microbloggers are people on Twitter, and microbloggers are really the people who communicate with you on your Facebook page. So when you think about bloggers, and does that sound like a good kind of place to go to talk about blogger relations and how to kind of delve into the blogosphere and communicate with bloggers and get bloggers more interested in your community or your brand? So when you think about bloggers, it's very easy to think about them as kind of like a hired gun. You know, this person who you've reached out to and they work for you. And a lot of times our clients come to us and they say things like, I want those mommy bloggers. Or I want those bloggers who blog about health, right? Can you get them for me? As if there's kind of like a package or like a list that you can buy that's going to get you those bloggers. And Allison, have you ever had success buying a list of people who blog about health? No?
You have to feel qualified.
Right. And even once you qualify, you really have to look at them and figure out, well, here's a health blogger who writes about diabetes, but I actually need a health blogger who writes about fitness. So they really aren't qualified in one solid camp of, here are the bloggers, okay? So what we're going to look at today are some kind of examples of how you can enter the blogosphere, how you can develop communities, relationships with bloggers who can become long-term advocates of your issue, your company, your cause, your brand, that kind of thing. So what's interesting to me right now about the blogosphere, and we can spend a lot of time talking about the difference between journalism and blogging, and there are huge differences, and I'm sure it's debated here in the Center for the Study of Journalism. But right now what's happening in the blogosphere, our conversations are being driven. News is being affected by what's happening in the blogosphere. So I'm going to give you two examples of that. Yesterday, the big news, I don't know if you guys saw, was the whole issue about Planned Parenthood versus Susan G. Komen. Okay, that was a story that was broken, I believe, first by the Dallas Morning News. But the story was driven along, and the outrage continued to happen in the blogosphere. I don't know if you were on Facebook yesterday, but there was a tremendous amount of communication about it on Facebook. There was a tremendous number of bloggers who went out and started to write about this story. So that was happening, you know, in the old days, the Susan G. Komen Foundation would just say, okay, we just have to manage that piece in the Dallas Morning Herald, and then it looks like, you know, Washington Post is going to do something, but once they write it, it dies down. That story didn't die down. It kept swelling. It just, you know, it was like it became a tsunami to the degree that Susan G. Komen reversed their decision. And that's the kind of thing that we're seeing now happening, you know, that's kind of compelling national news forward. So that's kind of a negative example, but a positive example is if you do have a campaign or a company that you really would like people to be chattering about, you can take it into the blogosphere and it can be picked up by traditional media outlets